So Michael, we've had another astounding formation, this time at Liddington Castle. You've got several hundred things to say about this, haven't you?
Liddington is a brilliant formation.
Oh, I think so.
A classic formation. But one of the things that I just want to draw attention to here in Liddington is the fact that here is a formation made essentially of, if you like, fragments of a circle.
Yeah, yeah.
It's sliced up like an elaborate pizza.
Yeah.
And normally in this situation where you take a slicer across it, the pieces remain together and the corners of the pieces are corner to corner.
Yeah, yeah.
In this case, it's in some way just very gently expanded.
Stretched out a little
It's
bit.
stretched out.
In every direction.
All the blocks are separated.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of this? It's actually much harder to do. It's much harder to draw. It's much harder to design, and I imagine it's harder to manifest. But the advantage is that these gaps act like welcoming gateways.
They're doorways for us to walk through, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
They show us the way through from space A to space B,
Yeah.
and from space B to D, E or F.
Yeah.
There is always a gap. And apart from the idea of hospitality and welcome, which is always available in the circles, there is also the necessity of showing respect for life.
Yes.
If the components, the sharp points of two components were put together and you wanted to pass it, you would trample it down. Because it's pulled apart a foot or 18 inches, there is a gateway and you can pass through without trampling more plants.
Yeah. It doesn't wreck the design.
This has been a standard feature of crop circle geometry for 20 years.
I remember you pointing out in '94 with the Froxfield flower that this issue of expanding the whole formation and leaving these gaps for us to walk through. It's a revelation.
Well, it is, because the Froxfield flower is based on that simple design that you do with a compass.
Circles around a circle, six circles around.
Which has been marketed to hell as the flower of life.
Fellow Melchizedek.
Yes. But of course, when you draw it like that, the lines cross over and things point together. Yeah. So to design it so that there is the welcoming gap is not an easy thing to manifest. You have to...
Let's be more specific here about not easy. How difficult?
Well,
you're an architect and you have to design that and go out and execute that with those.
I have drawn...
How much more would you charge?
A lot more. I have drawn the flower of life, so-called, in a way that leaves gaps.
Right.
But the problem is that when you draw it as the basic diagram on paper, and the points collide, leaving no access, and you say, right, I now wish to re-establish it with gaps, you have to work out, it's not simply a question of making one adjustment to compass so it's bigger,
everything
or
else
one
affects.
Is smaller. You have to decide where the curve is tighter, where the curve is looser. So it's not an impossible job, it's not a difficult job, but it's time consuming, and it takes attention and thought and a certain amount of experience to do. It's serious.
It's serious.
And
it's something we've seen demonstrated, as you said, for more than 20 years now.
And here once again is a formation which demonstrates it in spades.
Now you've got a lot more to say about this, haven't you?
Yes. Now, I've done some. Should we close it?
I was going to put it down. Yeah.
I've done some work on this, and I have to say, I feel very humbled by the crop circles, and people always say, "Oh, Michael Glickman, geometer." It's not true. I don't know about geometry. I've kneeled at the feet of people like John Martineau, John Michel, and learned from them. But I'm not really very good at it. I'm just.
You're too modest.
But no,
you do all right.
I'm a popularizer, essentially. And I look back on the work I've done on this breathtaking formation, and I believe I am merely scratching the surface, but I hope you find it entertaining and informative.
Definitely.
Now, the first thing to point out is that this circle bears a very specific relationship in that circle is exactly half the size of that one. There is a 1 to 2 proportional relationship between the two of them. And what this does is, in card 2, I have simply brought down that circle in blue and set it in the middle. And you will see that if you form an equilateral triangle within a circle, then it precisely houses a circle, in this case blue, of half the diameter. This is Euclid's second theorem, and this is a theorem that the circles are very happy to celebrate, and they've used it often, but they use it here. Red equilateral triangle inside the larger circle precisely contains the smaller. Now, the other thing was that I noticed that there is a circle here, circle there, circle there. These three are imaginary. But I just felt that this arrangement of the twins and the mother was screaming hexagon at me. I thought there was a hexagon there. So I drew it up. And it is very interesting, but possibly more interesting when you take the whole thing and slide it downwards, because that hexagon, when slid downwards, entirely encompasses the larger circle.
So the edges of this hexagon are just I see.
The edges of the hexagon touch the larger circle. Now, once again, I did this because I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of it? I don't know. I don't know. All we can do is chip away at this iceberg, bearing in mind the fact that 90% of it is below the sea, but we might get a little splinter of ice.
Yeah, but Alan Brown years ago with the quintuplets worked out that these small satellites on the outside were the key to putting pentagonal symmetry within the squaring of the circle. So what you're doing
John Martineau.
I thought Alan Brown found that.
No, John Martineau found that.
Oh.
In the pendulums.
Oh, okay. I was looking at Alan Brown's work when he did the thing on Terry's DVD, and he was showing the diagrams of those small satellites.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But that was subsequently.
Subsequently, okay. But so what you're doing here, I mean, this is the kind of examination, which most people don't look at
Yes,
with the
and
Gothic costumes, but this hidden...
resolve something.
Exactly, so you've got,
Now, the other thing which brings me to the last step is the fact that I have a hexagon here made of a mother and 5 daughters.
5 daughters, yeah.
And I thought, what is the meaning of this? Why are 5 the same? They're quintuplets, I suppose. Why are there 5 daughters, not 6? And then I realised that if you took these 5 daughter circles and put them in a line,
exactly the diameter,
they are precisely the diameter of the main circle. So that if that circle is diameter 1, that circle is diameter half, 50%,
yeah.
And these twins are diameter 1/5. So I wish I could do more than just take this kind of schoolboy analysis of the formation. But all I can say is that even the most superficial and cursory examination reveals a pattern and a purpose,
yeah,
and a skill,
yeah,
and an intelligence,
yeah,
and a logic,
yeah,
which just blows me away.
Yeah.
Now, this simply is a chicken scratching at the surface. And what can you do about the fact that the formation is unutterably beautiful?
At the same time, I mean, this is it. I mean, people can step and go, oh, it's lovely, it looks like a beach ball with beach balls set inside it, or whatever you want to say about it. But to me, what you're describing is a Chinese puzzle. It's a Chinese puzzle box. And there is a deliberate intent on the part of the author to draw you in, so that they think treasures can be more revealed.
And to stretch us.
Exactly. And so what you're doing here by moving those little proportions around and seeing these things is looking, I think, more into the mind of the author and more of what they want us to look at.
I try to approach it, but
as you say, we're just...
It's delightful. I love it. It's what I want to do for the next 200 or 300 years. But you get an inevitable sense of the impossibility of what the doomed enterprise. I mean,
because you feel inferior, so inferior in a way.
You examine any crop circle, it is so loaded with intent and layers and layers and layers of wisdom and understanding and jokes.
Overwhelming, isn't it?
You come away humbled but not humiliated.
Very true. And they're doing it for a purpose. They, there have been things discovered. To me, if you meet someone very, very wise, who has the humility and patience to actually slow things right down and explain them to a child in such a way that the child gains even a glimmer of insight. Yeah. This is some kind of way towards what we're dealing with here, I think.
Yes.
More for you to consider. There's lots more hidden depths in these crop circles, and
do it yourself.
Have a look, draw them, investigate them. It's wonderful.